Hey everybody, welcome to the channel and thank you for joining me today as we visit San Francisco, where I'm going to share with you some tips so you can be safe if and when you ever visit the city, and we'll also have a look around at the city. As we head down Columbus Avenue, you can see the Coit Tower there in the distance. Everything today is going to be applicable to any larger city, but San Francisco in particular has a notorious reputation for auto burglary, which is known locally as bipping. San Fran has both the worst rate and the highest number of auto burglaries in the entire country. It takes thieves just a matter of seconds to take all of your belongings, and less than 1% of those crimes ever result in a successful prosecution. The cops aren't very likely to even respond if you do happen to be victimized. Now, these tips are going to be applicable mainly for van life, but also if you travel conventionally. So stick around for the whole video. Also, I'm just a disembodied voice on a floundering YouTube channel, so please always use your own best judgment before making any decisions. The first tip is going to be simply not to park your van or car in San Francisco. On the northwest side of San Francisco Bay, there's a town called Sausalito, and there's a ferry service from Sausalito to San Francisco. In parking lot 4, you can park there for up to 3 days, so 72 hours, and it's something like $25 for the day in season between May and September, and between October and the end of April, when I visited, it was only like $5 to park for the whole day, and then after 10 p.m. it's actually free, so you can park overnight. So if you have a van, I would recommend that you strongly consider parking your van there and then taking the ferry into the city. So let's say, hey, you travel conventionally, you fly in, and then you want to get a rental car. Just make sure you never have any valuables whatsoever in the rental car if you leave it unattended. And do not stop for anything when driving from the airport to your hotel or back from the hotel to the airport when you arrive and when you leave. Bippers will target you at the airport and they'll follow you, and if you stop to get something to eat, for example, they'll break into your car then. These guys are organized theft rings, and they have things like Bluetooth sniffers to find, for example, cell phones in your car. And also, if you decide to go shopping while you're visiting the city and you have a rental car, make sure that wherever you go shop is your last stop before heading back to your hotel, so you drive directly back after you've made your purchases. My second tip is going to be don't put all your valuables in one basket, meaning for your cash, credit cards, valuables, things like that. If you're in a van or if you're staying in a hotel, while you're out visiting San Francisco, you can also be personally robbed. So it's a good idea to leave the cash, credit cards, passports that you don't immediately need in a safe spot in your van or hotel. I personally would leave emergency cash, a credit card, and a copy of my driver's license in a hidden spot in my van, and I would even carry one of my 2 backup hard drives with me as well. While you may think, hey, what I'm saying is a little overboard, you need to be mindful of your own security in every major city. That is true. But how about you go ask Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers #1 draft pick this year, if he feels safe in the city of San Francisco. If you don't know, he was shot in the chest just a couple months ago at Union Square when a guy tried to steal his Rolex. I guess at the time, maybe he didn't know that the 49ers don't actually play in San Francisco anymore. They actually play in San Jose. Which is going to bring me to tip 3, and that's going to be mindful of your surroundings at all times. Tony Northrup, who has a real big photography YouTube channel, and his wife Chelsea, they had a photographer friend one time who was taking pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset, and organized thieves followed him for 2 hours back to his home to rob him of his photography gear at gunpoint. Also, while I was here visiting the city, a wedding photographer was robbed at gunpoint of his camera at the Palace of Fine Arts. So if you have an expensive camera, have a bag, and before you pull that camera out, make sure that you look around and be sure that there aren't any people that are watching you or acting suspicious or anything like that. And when you're done taking your pictures, put your camera back in your backpack. So do not walk around the city with a camera, a watch, a phone, or anything like that out in your hands while you're walking around. And make sure to put any phones or anything back in your pockets or back in a bag when you move from location to location. For my final tip, I'm going to suggest that you use the red bus tours to get around the city. I would just personally avoid public transportation because you definitely don't want to have a Daniel Penny situation happen. San Francisco is essentially an open drug market, and you have a lot of people in certain areas of town that you can just see that they have something going on, and it's probably best to maintain a physical distance from them, and the best way to do that is to just avoid public transportation. You can of course Uber, however those rides can kind of add up. It's a minimum $20-25 for an Uber ride. The red bus tour does cost about $50 to $55. However, if you're going to take more than 2 Uber rides, it's actually more cost effective to take the red bus tour, and it will take you to all of the major touristy areas. Now, the downside to taking the bus and the ferry is that they do have a schedule, and so you're going to have to wrap up everything by about 6 p.m., so that's something to be aware of. But I think it would be a safe, cost-effective way to see all the popular landmarks in the city of San Francisco. If you found any of those tips useful, I'd appreciate it so much if you'd please give me a like, and please consider subscribing if you want to see more videos. And if you have your own van life safety tip or a tip specific to San Francisco, I'd really love to hear about that, so please leave any of those tips in the comments below. Thanks, and let's continue with the video.
Here's the hair. Off pause with the wind. Here we are, Golden Gate Bridge. It's a long bridge. In San Francisco, you got a lot of nice stuff. They got a bunch of drug addicts too. So, you know, it does look good. We got signs everywhere that says, do not leave anything of value in your car. And, you know, it's a city sign. So, that has been the best experience because I spent a lot of money to, you know, avoid bringing the van into San Francisco. So, make sure we get burglarized. Although, hell, maybe it has been broken into. I don't know. I've been gone for hours. Who knows? But, yeah, Golden Gate Bridge, definitely very cool. I'm only going to go to the midway point here because I got to go back and I got to hop on this bus and get back over and check out a couple more things. So, hope you've enjoyed the footage so far. You know, visiting's okay. Like I said, open drug use is kind of disheartening. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and here's some more shots.
You can see the wind there was not constructive to hairstyles, but what can you say? The bridge is amazing. You get amazing views of the entire area, and it's something I always wanted to see in person, and definitely recommend checking it out. So from there, it was time to hop back on the bus and head on back, but we'll make one last stop. And that stop's going to be the famous Lombard Street, which is marketed as the crookedest street in the world, but it's actually not even the crookedest street in the city of San Francisco. That title is actually held by Vermont Street. Now, while Lombard Street does have more turns, measured by sinuosity, whatever that means, Vermont Street is actually more crooked. However, I would say Lombard Street is a little bit better landscaped, and it's a pretty neat thing to see. And from there, it was time to hop back on the ferry and head back across the bay to Sausalito, where my van was thankfully unharmed. Now, I hope I didn't scare you, but it's just the reality of visiting a city that has some major issues that need to be addressed. San Francisco is still a very beautiful city, and I'm glad I visited it. Unfortunately, there was a couple from New Zealand with their small children with them, and as we passed City Hall, which is maybe like the coolest city hall in America, there were some drug users that were smoking crack right in front of their kids, and I apologized on behalf of America that they had to see that while they were visiting San Francisco. After overnighting that night, the next morning I wanted to get some shots of the Golden Gate Bridge at sunrise and was greeted by yet another sign warning about smash and grabs. We'll take a quick look at the Golden Gate Bridge. Unfortunately, there were some nefarious looking characters that were around drinking malt liquor at sunrise, mind you. So I got a few shots and decided it was time to head back on the road. If you decide to visit San Francisco, I hope some of these tips may help you. It's a nice city to visit. However, again, you need to make sure that you use your best judgment when it comes to your personal safety when visiting the city or any other major city. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks and take care. Bye.